Wouldn't it be ironic if the very things that we think will fulfill our lives, that will enable us to live our lives fully, are just fresh expressions of the barriers that we perceive prevented us from living our life? Hi, I'm Warren, the Rect here at St. Columba's. Glad you could join me. In a world of rising affluence, we're encouraged to think that our fulfilment will be found in experiences, in travel, in security, in entertainment, in pursuing our interests, etc. Perhaps shutting out the world or shutting out that part of the world that aggravates us and that we perceive we don't need. And as I said, wouldn't it be ironic if those very things are just fresh expressions of a restricted life? I want to come back to that. I want to read to you first a prayer of Charles de Fuco. You could check out who Charles de Fuco was. His surname is spelled Foucauld. This prayer, it's a beautiful prayer. I prayed it twice a day, every day for a year, 30 years ago. Father, I abandon myself into your hands. Do with me what you will. Whatever you may do, I thank you. I am ready for all. I accept all. That only your will be done in me and in all your creatures. I wish no more than this, O Lord. Into your hands I commend my soul. I offer it to you with the love of my heart, for I love you, Lord, and so need to give myself, to surrender myself into your hands without reserve and with boundless confidence, for you are my Father. After a year of praying that twice a day, every day, I gave up because I felt that I was a fraud, that I didn't really mean it. I wasn't ready for all. I wasn't willing to accept all, so I stopped praying it. But I did notice that the very things that I noticed were the barriers to me living that prayer were also the barriers to me living a full life. There was an overlap. I did notice that, but I didn't know what to do with it back then, so I just gave up saying the prayer. And as I've come back to saying prayers that stretch me, that are beyond my capacity, I've come to see that my fulfilment is not to be found in those things that would ordinarily be seen as fulfilling. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just they don't aim high enough. And as I've said in the last couple of weeks, I see this in Jesus, the way in which his surrender to his own life to live his life coincides with self-offering, a self-giving to others and to God. That's fulfilment. And that's why life is held out in the cross, because our fulfilment is actually in beyond our fulfilment in a narrow sense. So because I noticed that there was an overlap between the barriers to me living my life and the barriers to me giving myself to God, I came to see that it was very important for me to start praying prayers like Charles de Foucault's prayer again. Not because I suddenly have decided and am able to live the prayer. I can't. They do stretch me and they're beyond me. But I came to see that it was a way in which I could come to find fulfilment in my life that was deeper, broader, higher than what the world told me would fulfill me. It's not to say I don't want to be entertained or have a nice time or go on some travel or stuff, of course, but that's not enough. So now I pray the prayer. It's one of my primary means that I use to bring fulfillment to my life, but not narrowly conceived. But what you do when you pray a prayer that you can't and you actually know you're not going to live today. If I pray that prayer today, I know I'm not going to do it. I know when I say I am ready for all, I accept all, that I don't. How can I pray that in such a way that might take me beyond the barriers that hold me back, and thereby actually take me through the barriers that are holding me back in my life? How could I do that? Well, here's what I do. I offer my inability to, or my unwillingness to live the prayer. I offer that in the prayer. So I'm not offering in the prayer my purity. I'm offering in my prayer, if you like, my inability to live the prayer. So I offer to God my inability. That's very important because it assumes, if you like, a God who will be able to do something with my inability. Because I actually think when we think we know what will find our fulfilment and can go out and do them, we've aimed too low. We need to aim higher. So when I pray that prayer, a prayer which is actually about my fulfilment, but not narrowly conceived, it's a prayer about self-offering. When I pray that prayer, I'm offering my weakness. And you can do this with you don't need much faith, so to speak, to offer that prayer. So when I first started praying it again, or prayers like it, or read scripture that extends me, I might know I'm not going to do that. Jesus, I'm not going to do that. But I know I have an inkling that it's true. I offer that inkling when I pray the prayer. I'm not praying the purity, and therefore if I can't be pure, I should stop praying it. I offer the inkling that it might be true. I've grown from that to the point where I know it's true, and I offer my inability to do it. And actually in that prayer now, I ask God to bring it, to make it true in my life. I know, because for years I have offered my inability, I know that it is God who will do it in me. My fulfilment lies in God, and that fulfilment will be expressed in my self-offering to God and to others. Thanks for joining me.